The silence between you and a narcissist is never truly empty. It is heavy, suffocating, and remarkably loud. It isn't just the absence of text messages or phone calls. It's a living entity that occupies the space they left behind. This silence has a distinct and heavy pulse. It is often the very first thing you feel when you wake up in the morning, sitting like a physical weight right on your chest before your eyes even open to face the day. And it is consistently the last thing you hear at night when the rest of the world finally goes quiet. You find yourself trapped in an exhausting mental loop, wondering who is actually suffering more in this stillness. You are drowning in a deep sea of questions about why and how this happened, while they seem to sit comfortably on the other side of that wall of silence, acting seemingly untouched by it all. But what you really need to realize right now is that this isn't just a standard breakup. It is an intense psychological standoff. This stillness is actually the most honest moment you have ever shared with them. It reveals the core truth of the power dynamic that was always hidden behind the chaos of the relationship. If you can pull back the curtain and see what is actually happening within this quiet space, you will never look at them or your own heart the same way again. Right now, your body is in open rebellion against you. You might think that finally being away from someone who hurt you deeply would feel like a fresh breath of clean air, but in the beginning, it actually feels like you are suffocating. That is because this isn't freedom yet. It is pure withdrawal. You have to understand that your relationship was never built on a solid foundation of peace. It was built on a high-stakes cycle of unpredictability and confusion. One day, you were the absolute center of their entire world, and the next day, you were treated as if you were invisible. This hot and cold treatment did something terrifying to the wiring of your brain. It conditioned you to become deeply addicted to the brief moments of warmth and affection. Your nervous system was essentially rewired to stop seeking safety and instead start seeking the quick fix of their validation. You weren't in a healthy partnership. You were trapped in a chemical loop of false hope, sudden rejection, and harsh punishment. Because of this heavy conditioning, your body doesn't even recognize true peace as a good or safe thing. To a deeply traumatized nervous system, peace actually feels like a threatening environment. Now that all contact has finally stopped, your brain isn't saying, "Thank goodness we are safe." Instead, it is screaming inside your head, asking, "Where is the drug?" This is precisely why you find yourself compulsively checking your phone over and over, rereading old text messages from better days, or staring at their social media profiles. Your brain is literally hunting for the chemical hit that it grew dependent upon to survive. You feel a very real physical ache right in the center of your chest, a restless energy in your limbs, and a constant low-grade panic that will not fade. You might mistake this intense physical pain for true love or a profound soulmate connection, but you have to be completely direct with yourself about what is happening. This is not proof that they are your person. It is undeniable proof that you have been trauma bonded to them. Think of this agonizing silence as a strict clinical detox program. When an addict suddenly stops taking a substance they relied on, their body goes through absolute hell. They shake, they sweat, they lose sleep, and they feel like they are dying from the inside out. This happens not because the drug was actually good for them, but because their system simply does not know how to function without the poison yet. That is the exact place where you find yourself right now. You are right in the middle of the ugly phase of emotional sobriety. Every single time you successfully resist the urge to reach out to them, every time you put the phone down instead of typing a message, And every time you just breathe through the sudden wave of panic, you are flushing that toxicity out of your system for good. It feels like you are completely breaking down, but you are actually in the process of becoming whole again. The pain you feel is entirely real, but it is never a signal to go running back to them. It is simply a signal that your deep healing has finally begun. You have to endure this intense storm of withdrawal in order to finally reach the calm shore of your own life. While you were sitting alone in the quiet, picking up the heavy pieces of your broken heart, you have to understand that the narcissist is living in a completely different reality. It is very tempting to imagine them sitting in their own room, feeling the exact same weight of the silence that you feel so acutely. You want to believe they are reflecting on their cruel mistakes, feeling a sharp pang of regret when they see your empty chair, or struggling deeply with the loss of the connection you once shared. Pump the brakes and be direct with yourself about their nature. Their silence is never fueled by genuine heartbreak. It is not a period of mourning or sadness for what was lost. For a narcissist, silence is always a calculated strategic tool, a weapon used primarily for ego protection and careful image management. They are never looking inward to heal their flaws. They are only looking outward to see who is still watching them. Their entire internal world is built entirely on the urgent need for supply, which is just a fancy way of saying they need to be the sun that your entire universe revolves around. To them, your emotions, whether they were deep love, heavy tears, or even your completely justified anger, were all just raw fuel for their insatiable ego. As long as you were reacting to them in any way, you were confirming that they were powerful. The moment you go truly silent, you aren't just stopping a simple conversation. You are completely breaking the script that they wrote for you. In the very beginning of this silence, the narcissist isn't worried or scared at all. In fact, they are often quite arrogant about it. They tell themselves a comforting story where you are just being overly dramatic or emotional as usual. They assume you are sitting at home, staring at your phone, waiting for them to throw you even a small crumb of attention. They might even genuinely enjoy the silence at first, because they imagine you suffering over them, which in their twisted logic is still just another form of tribute to their ultimate importance. They expect the familiar cycle to continue exactly as it always has in the past. They push you away, and you pull them back close. They ignore you completely, and you chase after them. They are just waiting for that inevitable moment when you finally break down and send that long, explanatory text message or make that desperate late-night phone call. To them, your struggle is proof that they still own a permanent piece of your soul. And that comforting sense of ownership keeps their fragile ego inflated and secure. But something major shifts when the days turn into weeks and you still haven't reached out to them once. This is the exact moment when the narcissist hits a brick wall that is far more terrifying to them than pure hatred. And that wall is total irrelevance. You have to realize that a narcissist can actually handle being hated by someone. They can even thrive on that negative energy, because being cast as the villain in your story still makes them a main character in your life. What they absolutely cannot handle under any circumstances is being treated as nothing. When you stop checking their social media pages, stop asking mutual friends about how they are doing, and stop responding to all of their subtle provocations, you are essentially holding up a clear mirror that shows them their own terrifying emptiness. If you are no longer there to reflect their supposed greatness or react to their cruelty, They are forced to sit entirely alone with a self that they find completely unbearable. True irrelevance is a psychological death sentence for someone who only exists through the constant attention of other people. This is precisely why their behavior often becomes erratic, frantic, or performative as the silence stretches on longer and longer. They aren't moving on in a healthy or genuine sense. They are scrambling desperately to find a replacement for the massive hole you left behind. Their silence quickly transforms into a desperate act of image management for the outside world. They might start posting exaggerated photographs of their amazing new life, or jump headfirst into a new relationship with breathtaking speed. It is never because they are actually happy. It is because they are trying desperately to prove to themselves, and especially to you, that they are still the one in complete control. They are trying everything they can think of to provoke a reaction from you, to prove that they still matter in your world. If they cannot get your love anymore, they will gladly settle for your jealousy. If they cannot get your attention through warmth, they will try to get your attention through spite. But if you continue to give them nothing at all, the cold silence forces them to face the one thing they have spent their entire lives running away from. The terrifying fact that without someone else to manipulate and control, they do not actually know who they are. Your steadfast silence is the ultimate boundary, and it is the only thing that truly strips them of their fabricated power. You need to understand one crucial thing very clearly right now. There is a massive difference between someone who has genuinely found inner peace and someone who is just putting on an elaborate show for an audience. When your silence finally starts to settle in deeply, and the narcissist finally realizes that you are never coming back to play your assigned role, their fragile ego takes a massive and devastating hit. This is the exact moment when they shift gears from quiet indifference straight into full performance mode. Suddenly, their life looks like a high-budget movie production of manufactured happiness and success. They aren't actually healing from anything or reflecting on their actions. They are performing entirely for an audience of one person, and that person is you. They start carefully curating a version of reality that is specifically designed to make you feel like you were the real problem all along, and that they are thriving wonderfully without you. You might see them posting on social media more than ever before, flashing bright smiles that never quite reach their tired eyes, or surrounding themselves constantly with new people just to show you how easily replaceable you are. But you must not let those bright lights fool you for even a second. This is never a sign of genuine personal growth. It is a desperate act of psychological self-defense to cover up their internal collapse. One of the most common moves in this desperate performance is the classic smear campaign, where they begin to aggressively rewrite the history of your entire relationship. Because they cannot handle the crushing shame of being the one who was ultimately left behind or ignored, they have to cast you as the bad guy in the narrative. They will tell mutual friends, family members, or anyone else who will listen that you were the unstable one, the toxic one, or simply the one who just could not get your act together. They do this strictly to protect their fragile public image and to ensure that if you ever do decide to speak up about the truth, your voice has already been thoroughly discredited. It is always a calculated, preemptive strike on their part. By making you look like the crazy ex-partner to the outside world, they get to comfortably play the role of the long-suffering victim who is finally finding their freedom. This fake narrative is never created for them to find true closure. It is a heavy shield they use to block out the harsh reality of their own abusive behavior. If they can somehow convince the world that you were the root of the problem, they never have to face the agonizing fact that they were the actual cause of the destruction. Then comes the inevitable introduction of the new supply. To someone just looking in from the outside, it might look like they moved on in record-breaking time. It can feel like a devastating punch straight to the gut to see them with a brand new person just days or weeks after things finally ended between you. You start questioning everything, wondering if the years you spent together meant anything at all to them. But here is the direct and unfiltered truth of the matter. A narcissist never truly moves on from anyone. They simply replace people like household items. This new person is never treated as a real partner or equal. They are just another disposable prop in the narcissist's ongoing theatrical play. They need someone new immediately to validate their fragile worth, because they genuinely cannot stand to be alone with their own dark thoughts for even a moment. This new relationship is never a sign of genuine love or affection. It is just a convenient distraction from the hollow void inside them. They are using this new person to send a loud message directly to you that says, "Look how easy it was to forget you ever existed." But genuine happiness never has a point to prove to anyone. People who are actually at peace with themselves do not ever feel the need to broadcast it constantly to the world or use other human beings just to make an ex-partner jealous. The louder their public performance is, the more it clearly proves that your silence is working exactly as it should. If they were truly over the relationship and genuinely at peace, they wouldn't be working so desperately hard to show it off to you. Real indifference is always quiet. True inner peace is always subtle. It never needs a loud soundtrack, a clever hashtag, or a dramatic public announcement to prove that it is real. When you see them acting out, trying to provoke you, or flaunting their new life, what you are actually seeing is a person in a state of high alert panic. They can metabolize your anger. They know how to handle it when you yell, cry, or beg, because that still means they are the center of your universe. But they have no defense against your indifference. Indifference is the ultimate ego killer. By refusing to watch the performance, you are effectively turning off the lights in the theater. Without your attention to feed the act, the performance falls apart, leaving them alone with the one thing they fear most, their own true self. Every single day that you maintain the silence, something quiet and miraculous is happening deep inside your physical body. You are not just moving on, you are literally recalibrating your entire nervous system. For so long, your body was tuned to the frequency of chaos. You were living in a state of high alert, your brain constantly scanning for the next mood shift, the next criticism, or the next disappearance. When you finally step away and stay away, the absence of that chaos feels strange. It might even feel wrong. In the beginning, true calm can feel incredibly boring. Or worse, it can feel terrifying. You have been so conditioned to expect an emotional explosion that when the air is finally still, you find yourself bracing for a hit that never comes. This is because your body has forgotten how to exist in peace. But if you stay in that stillness, the static begins to clear. The heavy, suffocating fog that has clouded your judgment for months or years begins to lift. And for the first time in a long time, you can clearly see the horizon. As this recalibration takes hold, you will start to notice small, profound shifts in how you move through the world. You will find yourself making a simple decision: what to eat for dinner, what shirt to wear, what movie to watch, and suddenly realize that you did not pause to wonder how they would react to it. You did not have to pre-calculate their judgment or try to avoid their disapproval. That tiny moment of autonomy is a massive victory. It is a sign that the central command of your life is returning to its rightful owner, which is you. One day you will find yourself laughing at a joke or a video, and the sound of your own voice will surprise you. You will realize that this laugh is entirely genuine. It is not a nervous laugh to ease the tension, and it is not a performative laugh to make things seem okay. It is a laugh that belongs completely to you. You are reclaiming the territory of your own joy, inch by painful inch. And it happens because the silence has finally silenced their ongoing criticism. It is vital that you understand that the person you became during that relationship was not the real you. The version of you that was constantly anxious, the version that spent hours over-explaining your feelings, the version that walked on eggshells and became a master at people-pleasing, that was a survival adaptation. You were a soldier in a war zone, and those traits were your armor and your camouflage. You became hyper-vigilant because you simply had to be. You became small because it was the only way to stay safe in their unpredictable presence. But now that you are finally out of the line of fire, you do not need that heavy armor anymore. You might feel like you have lost yourself along the way, but the truth is much more hopeful. The real you never actually left. That version of you, the one who is curious, deep, empathetic, and strong, was simply drowned out by the deafening noise of the narcissist's needs and dramas. They were just waiting for the world to get quiet enough so they could finally be heard again. In this sacred silence, your own inner voice finally has the space it needs to speak up. For a long time, that voice was just a whisper, buried deep under layers of their gaslighting and your own self-doubt. But as the silence continues, that voice gets louder and clearer. You start to trust your own intuition again. You start to remember what you actually like, what you actually value, and what you actually deserve in life. You are not becoming someone completely new. You are simply returning to the person you were before the world told you that you had to be someone else just to be loved. This return of the self is the most powerful part of the entire healing journey. It is the moment you realize that the narcissist did not break you. They just occupied you for a while. Now that the occupation is over, you are completely free to rebuild your life on your own terms. And this time, the foundation is made of your own truth rather than their lies. You have to be prepared for the moment the silence is eventually broken, because it rarely stays quiet forever. If they come back, and let us be honest, they almost always try, it will not look like the monster you remember. They are not going to show up with a pitchfork. They are going to show up with a key to your heart. They have spent months, perhaps years, studying your vulnerabilities, and they know exactly which emotional strings to pull. They will show up with the exact words your soul has been starving to hear in the desert of their absence. They might seem incredibly soft, uncharacteristically regretful, or even break down in tears of vulnerability. They will reference old memories, inside jokes, and the dreams you used to share, making you feel like the connection was simply too special to let die. It is the ultimate test of your recovery, and it is the moment you must be the most direct with yourself. You have to understand that hearing the right words is not the same thing as seeing a changed person. Sincerity in the moment is not the same thing as a total transformation of character. When a narcissist reappears, you have to look past the performance and ask yourself, why they are really there. Most of the time, they are not returning because they finally realized your worth, or because they did a deep dive into their own soul. They are returning to check the locks. They want to see if the door you slammed is still bolted, or if they can still wiggle the handle and get inside. Their return is a Hoover maneuver, a psychological vacuum designed to suck you back into the familiar cycle of supply. They need to know if they still have emotional reach over you. They want to see if they can still make you cry, make you explain yourself, or make you drop everything to comfort them. If they can get any reaction out of you at all, they win. To them, your response, even if it is an angry one, is proof that they still own a piece of your mind. They are not looking for a healthy relationship. They are looking for reassurance that their power over you has not expired. Do not let a change in their tone confuse you for a change in their psyche. A softer voice is just a different tool in the exact same toolbox. It is incredibly easy to fake softness for a week or a month just to get back into someone's good graces, but it is nearly impossible to fake sustained, deep accountability. Real change is a grueling, long-term process that requires a person to admit they were the villain in someone else's story, and that is something a narcissist ego is specifically designed to avoid. If they are not coming to you with a clear, consistent history of professional help, a radical shift in their behavior, and an absolute respect for your boundaries, then they are just repackaging the same poison in a prettier bottle. Without structural internal change, the honeymoon phase of their return will be shorter than ever, and the crash back into chaos will be even more violent, because they will resent you for making them work to get you back. This is where you have to be your own protector.